In this lecture, we will discuss using research and reason to make decisions about instructional materials. This lecture will provide an overview for the literacy project that's due in week 7 of the course. We will discuss the guide that you'll use in completing that project. As we've discussed earlier this week, we want to choose reading resources that are strong in terms of their connection to the research. And of course, the first way of doing this is to look to the research directly and see if the program, intervention, or assessment process that we are thinking about using in our school has research support. But as we've talked about, there isn't always that gold standard of research, and so we need ways of helping us understand the connection of a reading instructional material to the broader research around reading. There have been a number of guides that have been developed to help teachers and other educators in doing this. The Florida Center for Reading Research created a guide in early 2000. The Center on Instruction also has a guide, and most recently, the Colorado Department of Education created a guide. We are going to look at the Colorado guide because it's the most recent one and reflects the most recent understanding around reading research. This guide was developed in 2019. Our own Dr. Stephanie Staller was part of the team that developed this guide. Its purpose was to help teachers and teams choose strong programs for their school. This is best used in a team, and it really builds off of the team's knowledge. So it's important that the team have strong knowledge about reading and reading development based on the science of reading. This guide is hard to fill out if you don't have some knowledge around the science of reading. In the guide, you are encouraged to look at the instructional program and rate it based on the evidence you see in the instructional routines and the content that is covered. For the purpose of the activity that you're going to do, the project that you're going to do at the end of the course, please make sure that you have completed week 5 content in this course before doing the project. This lecture is just meant to give you an overview of what's to come and to get you ready to use the guide, but it's best that you complete week 5's content that really gives you a strong overview of the structure of literacy before you use the guide for the project. So we are going to use the guide for our specific Little Early Literacy project within the course, but I really want you to know the full guide to understand how it might be of use to you as you're working in schools or education centers. So here are the materials that you need in order to complete a review. You need a program, and for our project, I'm asking that you just look at one of the essential components of reading. So you want to choose the grade level and then the essential component that you want to look at. So for example, you could choose a kindergarten program that's focused on phonological awareness. And if the program focuses on more things than phonological awareness, for the purpose of this review, you're just going to look at how it teaches phonological awareness. Next, you need the tools that are connected to the guide. First of all, the Colorado guide that explains how you do the review and important terminology and understanding of how you do the review. So please review the guide carefully. Next, you need the rubric. This is what you're actually going to fill out and, for our purpose of our project, turn into me. And in this rubric, as you'll see, you're going to note the evidence for how you rate each item. And you also provide a score. Then there's also a number of supporting materials helpful as you fill out the rubric. These include information about explicit instruction, vocabulary lesson template. This is going to be helpful if you choose to look at vocabulary. A phonics lesson template, similarly helpful if you're going to look at phonics. And then a DPA scope and sequence. All of these materials are linked on Blackboard. Now I want to go over the steps to review a program. Again, these are the same steps you will do whether you're doing this for our project or if you're doing it for a larger purpose in your school. The first step is to become familiar with the Colorado Guide and the supplemental materials, and you can begin that work right now. Second, choose a core or supplemental reading program. Ideally, this is going to be a core reading program that is used in your school. You are only going to review a specific grade level and one component of instruction. So again, if it's a core program that covers all the essential components, you're just going to focus in on the one component that you are looking at for this project. Next, locate the scope and sequence for the program. Often this is at the beginning of a teacher's guide or in a supplemental materials packet. Also, choose a lesson at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the program to use as you complete the rubric. When you're looking for evidence, you want to look for evidence across the program. What I do when I'm using this guide is I actually put a Post-it note on each lesson that I've chosen. So I always go to the same lesson when I'm looking at the different items on the rubric. Next, you're going to complete the rubric. So again, you have your scope and sequence in front of you. You have your 3 marked lessons. And now I'm going to look at each rubric item and rate that item based on the evidence I see in the program. I want you to look at the full rubric that the Colorado Department of Education has put together. But for the purpose of this project, you are only going to complete Phase 2. And you're only going to complete Phase 2 for the essential component that you've chosen and the grade level that you've chosen. So for each item on the rubric, you're going to provide a rating, fully met, partially met, or not met, evidence for that rating, and then the score. You will create a table in a separate Word document and note the grade level, the essential component, the evidence, and the score that you give it. So here's an example focused in on one item in the Kindergarten Phonological Awareness Phase 2 rubric. This is item number 7. So this is from the Colorado Guides rubric. It notes the item number, the description, and then the fully met, partially met, or not met, a place to put evidence, and a place to put a score. You can't write in the Colorado Guide, so that's why you're going to have to create a separate Word document with a little table. So here's an example of how you could fill out this item here. You don't need to rewrite the description because I will have the rubric. So just write the rubric number 7. Write what rating you're giving it, partially met, fully met, or not met. So for this example, the rater gave it partially met. Then write your evidence, and the evidence can be brief. It doesn't have to be extensive. And then write the score that you're giving the item. You're also going to want to have a little part at the end of your table where you write the score summary. So for phonological awareness in kindergarten, there are 12 items, and this got an 11 out of 12. Next, for the purpose of the project, you're going to write just a 1-paragraph summary of your findings. How did this program do on the rubric? Outline what you reviewed, so please make sure to note the program, the component you looked at, so phonological awareness, vocabulary, whichever essential component of early literacy you looked at, and the grade level that you looked at. The summary score, strengths and weaknesses of the program, and then also your overall impressions about the program's alignment to the science of reading for this component, and the impressions of using this guide. How did you think this guide was in terms of helping you understand the program's alignment with the science of reading? Again, this can be a brief 1-paragraph summary. You're going to post your summary and rubric on a blog for your peers to read. It will be interesting to see the different completed rubrics on programs used by different people in different schools and organizations.